Alright everyone, now we have big pro-gun news. Of course, only a couple of days ago, also in the state of New York, you had separate material that went through their court system and shut down their red flag laws there. That was a couple of days ago. Now you've got a different ruling. This is Fifth Circuit though, this isn't State Supreme. Fifth Circuit Court in New York ruling that the bump stock ban there is unconstitutional. Specifically talking about how they had to go through the legislature. Now it's kind of a half-assed step on the surface because it would have to go through the legislature in order to be reestablished. So the idea is that an executive order from the president or a governor or whatever cannot nullify an aspect of the Second Amendment. It's an obvious decision to make because if that were actually the case, then like Biden right now could sign a piece of paper saying all guns are banned, and you'd have to challenge it like it would actually be in effect until you did, which is clearly not the case. The executive lacks most of the powers that executives sometimes attempt to use. That's why you have these court cases. Of course, the decision's massively belated. You've already got people who have been jailed for having a bump stock. To be clear, bump stocks are not the most useful of things in the world, but they don't actually convert the weapon into an automatic weapon. They use the recoil of the weapon to bump it repeatedly so that when you've got it on your shoulder, it simulates automatic fire. But automatic fire is not quite the same as what the bump stock does. You are pressing the trigger repeatedly. It's just that the recoil of the gun is cycling the motion of the weapon. It's a little bit different. There's some minutia involved. Personally, if I was going to put something on a weapon to speed up the rate of fire, it'd be a Gatling crank just because it's fucking cooler. Plus, you could probably get a weapon that's like belt-fed and put that on there, and then you could have fun for hours and hours tearing up the landscape. Imagine one of those in .22 Hornet with a suppressor on it too. That'd be pretty sweet. I'd barely be able to hear it. Suppose it'd be good for cutting down saplings. Probably be pretty good at that. You cut down your Christmas tree with your brand new revolver. Anyway, the bump stock ban's been ruled unconstitutional. Now it's been upheld in, I think, several other cases. This is now primed to go before the Supreme Court of the United States. Since they made the Bruen decision, and since right now it is an executive action, it's not legislative at all, bump stock ban probably falls by the wayside. Now let's say that they do introduce legislation. And they say, look, now we've got an actual law that bump stocks are banned in New York or wherever else. This will be used as a precedent to challenge it, number one, although it does explicitly refer to executive power overreach as opposed to standard legislative processes. Bruen, though, would then be used to say, look, the founders didn't have bump stocks, but there was no law against them until the last couple of fucking years. Well, where's your long-standing American tradition? The context and the litmus test of Bruen is there a tradition of it? Would it be considered historical within the United States? No. There's no gun control till the 1870s, so you're talking about the first 90 years of the country existing before literally anything happens. And then the only conversion is a temporary, now overruled conversion of a right into a privilege specifically to prevent black people from owning firearms. That's the history of gun control in the United States. The Ku Klux Klan gets the good idea that maybe disarmed people are easier to lynch. That's it. That's all. As far as individual components of gun control, you then wait another 60 years before you get anything particularly relevant. You're talking about the Depression era, basically. And some of the postmodern gun control, it doesn't come around till the 70s or even on into the present era. There is no historical tradition for any of it. I suspect that bump stock ban overall nationwide will eventually be completely overturned. Just as you will end up with nationwide constitutional carry, you will end the mag restrictions. There's no precedent for that. They will end ammo type bans. There's no precedent for that. They will presumably start giving felons their weapons back. Non-violent felons, of course. I support that. At the very least, body armor. In some states, you can't even purchase high-grade body armor at this point. Well, I mean, it's not technically a weapon, but it falls under the broad definition of arms as applied to the use of a citizen militia, so, again, doesn't just protect guns, everyone. It protects all other forms of weaponry, body armor, military vehicles, explosives, and everything else. Now, the storage of explosives being so dangerous to your community, as a pragmatic libertarian, I'll make an exception and say I don't complain quite so much about that side of gun control as I do things related to topical small arms, body armor, etc. We can get to that in the future. I'm sure we can hammer something out. You know, you don't want inbred Jed over there with 10 bricks of C4 sitting around in his garage because he's too stupid to secure them. That might be a problem. It might hazard your own particular NAP at some point, some indeterminate arbitrary point that would be fun to debate an ANCAP over, I suppose. This, though, is quite clear. This isn't a gun. This is a thing that goes on the gun, and it makes it simulate automatic fire. But again, if you were to look at it in slow-mo, you are still engaging the trigger. It's just that the recoil is helping you do that at a much higher rate of fire. By the way, where's your accuracy when you're using a bump stock? Not very high. Unless you are a psycho spraying down a crowd, you probably can't hit the broadside of a barn. At that point, you're going full Las Vegas shooter, by the way. We haven't heard many updates about that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'm just saying that big-ass mass shooting is not remembered every year the same way certain others are. Yeah, if you're spraying into a crowd of thousands of people so that you can't miss hitting something that's fleshy, yeah, okay, you're a psychopath. Otherwise, I mean, imagine trying to hunt with a bump stock. Well, I killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Now, the bird literally got vaporized, but yeah, I shot the bear and I carved him up at the same time like a Thanksgiving turkey. Well, you should have seen it. It was godly. I'm glad that this ruling was made. Again, as far as the latest wave, post-Bruin, of decisions from both state supreme and federal courts with regards to gun control and things similar to it, tangentially related, weapons control, we'll call it, I think the only victory for the anti-gunners was Rhode Island's mag restrictions. That's the only one that rings a bell. I don't know that there's really been any other meaningful case, at least one meaningful enough to be reported on by anyone, including the independent content creator community. I don't know about any other where the gun control's been upheld. Hell, they've been losing in California. This is New York, and this is 2 in a row. Literally less than a week ago, it has to do with the red flag laws. Those go bye-bye, and literally Bruin is addressed, and they say, well, it can't be a secondary right. It's the same, it's co-equal to every other part of the Constitution. Otherwise, the very meaning of the Constitution is denigrated because you could arbitrarily decide tomorrow, hey, the 5th Amendment's less important. The 10th Amendment's less important. And you can't do that. It's not written in there. And now you have the bump stock ban getting shot down. Shot down. Pardon the dad pun. Yeah, good times. I hope that there are many more legal challenges. By the way, I would still love some Vermonter to update me on my home state. Is there any active challenge to their mag restrictions? Because I'd like to have a standard capacity magazine if I go back and I end up buying a sporting rifle as opposed to a little mini one that's, you know, fundamentally less functional. You know, I'm not talking about a 100-round drum or something, but 30-round mags, they look better. They just look more aesthetic too. You know, they curve a little bit. You know what I'm saying. That's about all. Peace out.